give you a breakdown. Let me give you a breakdown of the prison industrial complex. And let me give it to you by the numbers. The three whitest states in the country. It'll be Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. The three whitest states. And then we're going to break it down by the prison population. Number one, Vermont. At one point, Vermont was 99.9% white. And its black population was practically none. But yet the prison population for blacks is 8.5%. A black person is 10 times more likely to be incarcerated than their white counterparts. New Hampshire, 99.8% white, with a 7% black prison population. Also, a black is 10 times more likely to be arrested and incarcerated than their white counterparts. Maine, 99.7% white. Yet, 13% of their prison population are blacks. Also, a black is 10 times more likely to be incarcerated than their white counterparts. Although I know we have an immigration problem here in the country, and we're so angry at the Venezuelans, and we take our anger out on the Venezuelans. But if America would get out of their country and would not disrupt their economy, which they have collapsed their economy, therefore they're coming over here. So there's always going to be a conflict between the newcomers taking the resources of the natural citizens of America. But somehow they get more sympathy than blacks. Those first three states, let me recite them again. Vermont, 99.9% white. The three whitest states. New Hampshire, 99.8% white. Maine, 99.7% white. How is it possible that the three whitest states with little or no blacks can have a high black prison population? It makes no sense. Let me rewind this thing back. And let me go with more numbers. I want to hit the whitest states first, because when I get to the black states where black people live, the numbers become even worse. Now, we did the three whitest states. Now let's continue with Wyoming. Wyoming have a black population of roughly 12.4%, if those numbers are right. But check out their black prison population. 38.8% black. A population of 12.4%, but have almost a 39% black prison population. Let's get another white state, Iowa. 4.3% black population, but their prison population is 25%. A black is 10 times likely to be incarcerated than their white counterparts. Let's grab another one. Minnesota. Black population, maybe 7%, maybe 6.5, but we'll just call it 7% for easy numbers. Minnesota's black prison population is 34%. As I go to more black states, again, the numbers are going to get worse. These numbers have never come up at a casino. I mean, it's impossible. Systemic racism. Systematic racism. Now, mind you, I will not negate the fact that there are criminals, and the criminal element need to be locked up. But when you got a country that go around the world, I'm talking about America, to take everybody's natural resources and take it for themselves in the name of democracy, but they don't call that a crime.
After the Civil War, the 13th Amendment abolished slavery with a key caveat. Forced labor was still allowed for people convicted of a crime, and the states adopted a copycat of this federal amendment. But here's the thing. In 2022, Alabamians made a historic vote to remove this exception.
The state has a new constitution. Voters overwhelmingly agreed to make our state constitution free of racist laws and language.
However, right after the voters of the state changed the state constitution, the governor and the Department of Corrections really doubled down on the punishment for refusing to work.
So the people closed the loophole, and then the governor went around to open it up again, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
Governor Kay Ivey's executive order made encouraging or causing a work stoppage a high-level violation, on the same level as possession of a weapon, drug possession, and bribery. The order also cracked down on correctional incentive time, better known as
good time.
In some prison systems, good behavior is rewarded with what's known as good time. People can earn sentence reductions and get released from prison early.
And the state legislature even changed its good time law to increase that form of punishment for folks who refuse to work.
We're simply changing the amount of correctional incentive time or good time days that are offered.
Are we increasing or are we lowering it?
We are lowering them.
All of this was done on the heels of this constitutional change, and frankly, it's a brazen ignoring of the will of the voters of the state, and that's what our lawsuit is about. And so many people want to work, but they want to be paid fairly. They want to be paid a free world wage for the labor they're doing. They want to be working in safe conditions. They want to be treated fairly, and they don't want to be forced to work if they don't want to, or they can't because they're sick, or they have a doctor's appointment, or they're feeling unsafe in their work and they want to change jobs.
Greetings from the east to north to south, and this wicked ass west. The topic, inmates. Is that a better name than slaves? The questions, why you think it's more acceptable to call them inmates instead of slaves? Let's get into it. I am your host. I am the one.
One, two. Let's get right into it. One of the things that is happening here in America is the proliferation of black inmates. Somehow we just can't get around it. We can't get around it. If we did a breakdown, which we will do per states, you'll realize that there are not a whole lot of black people in America as it is. I remember an older guy told me that we were supposed to be 12, 13% of the population. And that was 70 years ago. And 70 years later, we're still the same 12, 13, maybe even 14%. The older guy told me, I guess nobody was born and nobody died. The lies that America always tell. It's not getting any better. But let me stay on point here. I want to do a quick rundown per state of the black populations per state. And I want to compare that to the prison population. And these numbers, if you don't know, they're staggering. The amount of black people per state, I think the most state where blacks are located is, I believe it's Mississippi, maybe followed by, it's got to be a southern state, maybe Mississippi, Louisiana, maybe even Alabama. I really don't even know the top three. I will find out before this video is over. But per state, there's not a lot. But when it comes down to the prison population, it's just off the chain per number. Because if you like maybe 12, 13% of the population, so the other 83%, where they should be, their number should be higher in the prison system. If you really break it down, they say that Mexicans, maybe Latinos, Hispanic, that population surpassed the black population. So let's suppose we are like 15% of the population, and the Latino population is growing rapidly. So let's say there's 17, 18%. And, the other groups, not so large, but growing. So the population of whites got to be about, let's just say 60%, 60, 65, 62 in that range. Some of the biggest criminals on the planet. No, let me take that back. I'm sorry. The biggest criminals on the planet. But there's no representation of them in the prison system compared to 12, 13, 14% of the population. So I'm gonna break it down by the numbers. And you tell me what you think. Okay, I have the top 10 states where black people live. Top 10 states, right? Okay, I'm going to give you the percentage of where black people are, percentage of the population of the state. And then I'm going to give you the prison population. Let me just give a small illustration where I can bring and advance this point. If there's only 10 lottery tickets, and let's suppose I buy 6 tickets, and there's 4 tickets for everybody else, it's likely I'm going to win. It's just the way it is because of sheer numbers. But yet, we know black people play a lot of lottery, but somehow we don't win the big money. Most times ever, we don't win. But you would think if it's more of you, you got a better chance of winning. Well, check this out. They say we are 13% of the population, but make up over 60% of the prison population in the country. So let's break it down by state. The District of Columbia, they say it's 48.5% black. But the prison population, 87.8. Mississippi, percentage-wise, blacks make up 39% of the population, roughly. Prison population, 61%. Louisiana, they say we're 34.25% of the population. We're 65% of the prison population. Georgia, they say we are 31.4% of the population. Prison population, 60%. Alabama, they say we're roughly 26.25% of the population. Prison population, 53%. I believe that number is really wrong. I believe it's higher. South Carolina, they say we're 26% of the population. Prison population, 58%. Delaware, they say we're 22.5% of the population, roughly. Prison population, 60%. North Carolina, they say we're they say we're just about 22% of the population of Delaware. Prison population, 60%. North Carolina, roughly they say we are about 22% of the population. Prison population, 52%. Virginia, roughly we are 20.5% of the population. Prison population, 55%. I mean, just think about those numbers. Think about the numbers. If it was a lottery, we would never win that much. We would never win. They wouldn't allow it. But when it comes down to free labor, yes, your numbers, if you go to a casino, these numbers will never work. But somehow they say it's fair and just. Here's a number that really caught my attention. Maryland, I think I already said Maryland, but they say as far as men are 14% black males, of course, 14% of that population, but 73% of the prisoners, black males. They say black females is 16% of that population. We're talking about Maryland, but 53% of the prisoners. You couldn't get those numbers no place else if it were a favorable situation. If it was like winning a lottery or winning a jackpot or winning a scholarship, you couldn't get those numbers. But somehow they say these numbers are just and fair. Remember, this nation have destabilized the Haitian population, the Haiti country. They went in with big corporations and just decimated the whole country. So when the Haitians come over here, we think it's a problem. But the corporations, I think they pay the workers, it'd be like roughly 22 cents an hour. They wanted a raise. They wanted a raise, but the corporations came in and ensured and enforced they wouldn't get a raise. Mind you, 22 cents an hour, because they didn't want them to cut into their profits. Is that a crime? Venezuela, they destroyed the government, collapsed the economy. Is that a crime? That's a serious crime. But guess what? No charge. But these devils seem to think that the little petty crimes we're committing in comparison to what they do. I mean, this is worldwide. Now, I can't remember the situation. I think it was Guatemala, if I'm not mistaken, how they destroyed, a corporation went in there. This is a sovereign nation. Because the corporations wanted certain, I think it was the banana plants. If you don't look it up, Guatemala bananas. I hope I got this story right. Just took the country over by force. Guess what? No charge. They went over in the Iraqi oil fields. They just took it. That's not a crime neither. But somehow they like to think of themselves as the police of the earth. Who's policing them? It's got to stop. It's got to stop. And they give you so-called a perk. They'll allow you to work outside of the prison system. And anybody would like to get out. I mean, pick up trash or to work at Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's. Corporations, they lease prisoners. I think the term they use is prison leasing. It's the new slavery. They'll take a person from prison and they say, you know what, this is what's going to happen. You can go out and you can work for this corporation. Okay, you're not really going to get paid that much, but at least you'll be able to get out of the prison walls, the confinement for 6, 7, 8, 12 hours. Now, to any prisoner or anybody that's been in jail, just to get out and just walk around, that's a prize. Hey, this man is the devil. This man is the pure devil. He's the definition of devil, pure evil. That's what he does. And eventually, when the Most High cut his ass down, I'll be one happy individual. 9 times out of 10, I'll be in my grave before that happens. But when I get up, I'll know what happened. Maybe even before then. This guy is the pure devil. You can't get more worse than this man right here. And this same filthy, dirty devil, he'll point his finger at you and call you a criminal. What he'll do, he'll pay you just minute wages, just a small amount. And he'll keep all of the profits. How in the world can the top 1% own more than 40% of the wealth of the world? How's that even possible? 1%? And the numbers are probably even higher. But he called himself a moral judge. Unbelievable. What they're doing to blacks in this country is really it's criminal. But guess what? They'll never go to jail. They will never go to jail. They call us criminals. But eventually, the Most High God said, but be sure your sins will find you out. Whatsoever a man sows, that he shall also reap. Yeah, here's the thing about sowing and reaping. When you sow, you put into the ground. What comes up out of that ground is what you get. Planting, and when you harvest, you sow seeds of evil in the ground. Eventually, those seeds are going to rise up and consume you. It's just a matter of time.